The area of management is very interesting to everyone around the world. It's sometimes a less understood subject. Over the last 20 years or so, or 25 years, management as a field is seen more than as a science than as an art. We've had natural managers in the past. Today we have a combination of natural and professional managers. One of the earliest books written on the art or the practice of management is by Peter Drucker, who writes in his book extensively about what management is in his book, The Practice of Management. I think it was a very well selling book for many decades. It still continues to be a widely read book by many practitioners of what we call this word called management. But having said that, do we really understand this word called management and what it is all about? We find difficulties and challenges in management in every way or quarter of life. There are many words that are associated along with management, like administration and words like governance, which might have its own unique meaning. But what is this word called management? The raw material into this word called management is human beings. How you make use of them, how you integrate them, how you organize people into constructive action. I remember a small exercise which was given by a trainer a couple of years ago. It was a very interesting kind of training. He made five, six groups, and each group of people consisting of some five people. And he gave a small task of organizing some, I don't exactly remember, some cards into some form of a structure. And he gave them a specific amount of time around which it should be done or could be done. It was very interesting to see the results of how these five or six teams came up with this effort of getting what was the task done. When you work in a team of people, you understand that someone eventually becomes a management man. He directs, or sometimes controls, or sometimes guides, or sometimes trains into how certain things must be done within a specific time. The idea behind what I was telling is that the six different teams had six different, what we call, different levels of achievement as far as small task was concerned. On that I understood there's something called management. The manager is a man who can see the whole from a set of parts. He is an integrator. I will repeat again, he creates a whole out of certain parts. Such a kind of an activity could sometimes be, though it may not be totally management, it comes under the overall gamut of the word what we call manage. Is there some essence or sense in this word? There is a very deep rooted sense in this word. Very often it is misunderstood. People don't understand it. Management sometimes is the behavior of some people. The opposite of management is mismanagement, which is definitely destruction. It is seeing parts from a whole. If I give a damager a whole thing, he will disintegrate it into parts. Management or a manager or a damager or a mismanager. Now, Peter Drucker has written in his book I'm specifically today to going to talk to you something gradually into what's called a strategic management. If you have an organization, it's very important for us to understand the organization might be running very well, but may not be strategically well positioned. Now, this word called strategy and strategic management is though something of maybe a subject of thinking or a subject of deliberation of the last 10, 20 years. I don't think anyone came across the word of strategic management some 25 years before. Because people never bothered to understand about management. They only understood about work. They understood about labor. But they never bothered to understand about what is management, which puts all these things into some kind of action, into some kind of motion, into some kind of a whole from the parts. Now let me come to what Peter Drucker was telling. And this often I've heard this being quoted at various managerial forums, seminars, organizations, and many scenarios like that. Three people were working at a construction site, and one person was, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm making a living." He's working to make a living. And he asked the second person, "What are you doing?" He's saying, "I'm doing the finest technical job in town." Maybe some technical job in town. And he asked the third person, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm in the process of building a building." Now the same at the same work site, three different people have three different views of almost the same work that they are doing. Only the third man clearly understands that they are in the business of building a building. Now, if you remove that man from this setup, like what experiment I was talking about, five, six people grouped together to do the work, to do some tasks, this building would never be completed on time because both of these people don't see what is the end result. They are working without seeing the end result in mind. One man is making a living, the other man is doing a finest technical job. It's only the third man who says we are in the process of building a building. He's part of the process. Other two don't see, they only see the process, they don't see the end result. But everything said and done, this anecdote, or whatever you might call it throws some light on this meaning of the word called manage. In the conventional sense of modern day scientific management, management is seen as some few words like planning, organizing, staffing, directing, training, controlling. These are all seen as constituents or components of the activity called management. And in the world of today, all these tasks are given to some people with experience in these respective fields so that they carry out what they should be doing. For example, someone plans, someone organizes, someone staffs. If you ask, if you see the Indian government per se, how it's done, we definitely have a system of bureaucracy which acts as a managerial level of governmental operations. We take them through intellectual tests, and one of the constructive things that we have done as a society is to maintain and develop this institution called as the bureaucracy, because definitely a certain amount of managerial discipline, it's not managerial discipline, a managerial vision or a managerial outlook, such people would bring in the overall running of the organization called the government. But in any social situation, we have this word called management, and what it means, I was just trying to tell you over the last few minutes. Now, let us go to a business organization. At the end of the day, every organization is a business. Government is a business too. The business of the government at some basic level is to maintain order and discipline on one side and see that they are economically well off. The government itself has got economic equations, and those economic equations in turn affect the populace at large. The government is running the economic business of a country. And though we don't we though we use this word, though we are sometimes hesitant to use this word business, at the end of the day, all kinds of social organizations or some or the other kinds of business. It has all the constituents of business and all the constituents or elements of management and social organization applicable across the world. Having said that, what is the meaning or what is the meaning of the word, as I told somewhere, strategic management? What do you mean by this word? It definitely has the word called management, which I understand to some degree. But is there a domain called, or what do we understand by the word strategic? And who is responsible for this strategic component of management? I will repeat here again, a country or an organization could be doing very well, but it should not be at the strategic cost. Again, please understand that very clearly. The organization must be properly oriented strategically. Now, or there should be no strategic failure. Strategic management, the entire activity of strategic management tries to prevent something called as strategic failure. Strategic management involves creating strategies so that the work that people do within the organization is simplified and well organized. In many of the seminars of strategic management, I talk of Titanic as an example. The sinking of Titanic is a strategic failure. What does that mean is that they fail to foresee risks that are ahead of them in the sea and reacted to it too late, creating a mishap. Sometimes these mishaps are a result of poor strategic management. Again, it will be difficult to understand the word called strategic management. Strategic management is something what a general does in the army. He plans strategies. What are the strategies? The lives of many of his people are dependent on the strategies that he evolves. What is a strategy? I don't know how to define what strategy. Strategy could be a set course of action under a given set of circumstances, which is binding on a social institution. Could be defined as strategy. I was listening to Field Marshal Manak Shah and how he organized his activities in 1971. Definitely, he has given the right kind of strategic leadership in the way the whole military activity was organized. There was no strategic failure anywhere. He foresaw all the elementary constituents or the activities that are to be conducted took sufficient amount of time and set things in motion. Still, that may or may not define the word called strategy and strategic management per se. Until I tell you very clearly three constituents of this, three large divisions of this activity called management in itself. I've got a very important, I will repeat that statement again. Any institution, social organization, at the end of the day, is a business. Even a human being is a business. I have to have food every day. There's a cost of living. I have to manage it in some form. I have to maintain my health. That is definitely a strategy issue. When I use the word strategy or strategic, it covers aspects of life and death. That would be one of the right ways of putting the meaning of strategy. It's an issue of life and death. Today, there is a crisis of the COVID novel coronavirus. It is a strategic issue plaguing the entire world, not just on the health front, also on the economic front, because it's going to influence humanity in a very strategic way. Was there any way we could have controlled it? Well, it could be termed as some kind of strategic failure at some level, that we never prepared for such a disaster or an epidemic. Well, it happens from time to time. Now countries have to come together like never before to tackle this problem. Novel coronavirus is going to give a strategic challenge to all the leaders around the world. How best they can put in strategic measures again to see that this whole menace is controlled and thwarted and subdued. Now I'll repeat again, the whole most social organizations around the world is business. Now, when you use the word business, when you use the word business, you talk of costs on one side and profits on the other. That means any business must create some kind of profits to survive. Profits may not be the right kind of word. Some kind of surplus to survive. Now, please don't misunderstand that human organizations are not always centered around making profits, but profit is a part of that game. Take an individual human being. Every day we are working on profit. What is the meaning of that? I have to have food that creates energy. More energy. Calories than the calories I spend at various kinds of work. Now I'm talking to you on this video. Half an hour later, I'm going to be hungry because I'm using calories to spend on it, and I'll have food to see that I replenish these calories that are lost due to action. Human life is a business too. I've got costs and I have to make surplus. Well, you can have various methods or ways. There are various methods or ways on these things in the way in which these things are accomplished. I might have different kinds of food. I might be looking for food which is low cost but gives high calorific value. But I've got a challenge there which is largely of a commercial kind. Now, having said that, I will jump quickly into this activity of management, classify it into three different parts, and try to understand At all these three levels, there can be strategic failures. So I'm trying to understand strategic management as a whole without much confusion. But again, let me try to divide it into three different ways. One is the functional level. Any organization has got a functional level. The next level could be seen as the business level. And the ultimate level could be seen, or the higher level could be seen as the strategic level. I've got three levels inside an organization. I may not call it levels per se, but three domains which have to be integrated well for an organization to run effectively without mishaps. Why I'm very happy because I'm making this kind of a video setup because the least understood word around the world about this word is the word called management. Sometimes parents mismanage their children, even to a strategic extent, because they don't understand fully well the skills of their children and might sometimes land up taking wrong kinds of decisions which can hurt them or do harm to them in the long run. They might misjudge their children according to some of their yardsticks, which may not be very right, only later to understand that they made a colossal error. Now, having said these things, again, I said we divide the entire area of management into functional level, business level, and strategic level. Let us go to a business organization, forget other kinds of social organizations for a second. Functional level are the functional activities within an organization. What do we mean by that functional activity? The functional activity literally means the production of something. When I go to work every morning, I'm in a functional activity. I'm driving a car, or driving a scooter, or driving a cycle, or using my cycle, whatever it might be, or using a metro, or using a bus, but I've got a functional decision to make. If in the absence of that functional activity, nothing works in a business institution. Now, this is a very interesting. Sometimes you don't understand this word functional. I function in some form. All business institutions around the world function, and they should function according to certain yardsticks. This is one of the understanding of modern management and managerial thinking. It's slightly different from the age-old approach to activity of any activity of a human control or human affairs kind. Is modern management everything? Well, again, the idea of modern management gives long-term survival to social institutions. Now, I was telling about functional level. Functional level means the actual activity within an organization. The government has its own activities. Government has its own activities. When a traffic police comes early morning to a traffic point and controls the traffic, he's doing a government control activity of a functional kind. He's reporting to various other levels within the department. And he has got certain deliverables around which he works. any kind of yeah, I've got an educational institution early morning. I've got faculty walking in, talking, doing functional. I've got any kind of social organization you can think of. I've got a factory where people come early in the morning to do a specific kind of functional work. Now, that is the lowest, I won't say the lowest level, the most vital feeder of any social enterprise, or for all that matter, for all practical purposes, it's called business. Say an aeroplane is flying from Bangalore to New York. The pilots are doing functional work. So are the air hostesses, the air host or the air hostess. They are involved in a functional work. Of course, they are supported by information from around by air traffic controllers, but pilots have a very clear job to do to take the plane to its destination, maybe New York, and land it there. He's done his functional work. And there are many other kinds of functional works in an airline institution, like booking tickets and that is functional work, organization, functional work. If any of these functional works don't work well, the organization tends to deter. Now, see, I'm very happy that I made a video like this because I'm trying to throw light around the world, not just to an Indian audience, about what the ways in which we can look at the overall activity of social institutions and the word called management. Now, that is the most important building block anywhere around the world in any social company. Someone is busy doing functional work, and everyone has to do some or the other form of functional work. A child, when he's studying, is doing functional work. That's his function at that point of time. The next is the business level. To get this functional level working, I need to give some economic inputs. That is covered at the business level. As I said, any kind of any kind of functional work needs the support of economics. Take a police circle inspector who is standing at a traffic point early morning. He might be given a 12-hour duty to control traffic. He has to be paid to do that work because he gets hungry doing that work. He's spending his time, and he's as an individual, he's part of a social setting called a family, whose economics depends on what he earns. So, in a governmental setup, taxes might be collected and routed to him a certain amount of consideration for the work that he does. So we are talking about business in every sense of the term. An individual is when he walks from one place to another place, he's doing a functional work. He has to have food, to have the necessary energy to walk from here from one point to another point. Otherwise, he simply doesn't walk. If I judge my father, he is a person with an extraordinary skill at doing functional work. Without wasting time, he did all his functional duties to a very high degree of efficiency that kept our family afloat. Now, I've talked to the business level. Every institution has got a model of business around which it creates the necessary economic surplus to see that the functional activities do not stop. Aeroplane in the air, to have its functions, it needs run properly, it needs fuel. That means I fill it with fuel at least when I start or at intermediate points where I touch down for other reasons, where I refuel the plane so that it can carry out the functional activity of moving from one place to other place. I charge the passengers a sizable amount of money, which is internal business, which I in turn use to fund the purchase of fuel. If you understand the word business, anyone who tries to create economic margins in an organization is working all the word called business manager is predominantly placed to improve the business or the economic returns It's not just returns, to create the economic surplus so that the functions of the organization can be carried out. So we understand the functional level, we understand the business level, and then we come to the strategic level, the most important thing. Let's understand. Let us try to understand what this word called strategy means. Now, what do we mean by strategy or strategic management? I don't know if I've given you the right kind of what we call treatment of this word called strategic management. If you ask me what is the strategic management, it's the top level of an organization where there are thinkers and planners who create strategies or by default use strategies or by default implement strategies in a wholesome way so that the business component of the organization works smoothly or without ado by understanding whatever problems exist at that level of business level of an organization so that the functions of the organization can be carried out much more smoothly. I would like to quote a man like Abraham Lincoln for a second. He made a statement. It's very easy to get 1 lakh soldiers, but it's very difficult to get a general. I think for many years in the American Civil War, he was looking out to get the right kind of general, I think, which he found in Ulysses Grant, who was not a very merited student at a military college, but definitely had the strategies that are needed to get things done in a crisis. I'll repeat the statement again. It's very easy to get a lakh soldiers, but it's very difficult to get a general. Now, are generals born, or are generals, do they come out to a system, or do a system stifle generals? Next generation generals don't get to be where they should be. Then institution can get into some kind of strategic mishap in the event of a crisis. But I will repeat again and repeat again. When I say strategic management, that has got a large scale umbrella function to see that the business level of the organization functions in the right way and feeds the functional level so that the whole organization runs with high degree of efficiency. That would be the definition of strategy. How do I explain this further? I might have two institutions doing the same kind of work, but one institution might be strategically better run than the other, which means constituents within that business are giving better form of performance with lesser kind of inputs. Because strategically, the organization is well positioned because it has got higher order strategic managers at the top who do the right kind of planning and organizing, whatever you might call, by their actions as management people, so that the organization not strategically misoriented. I'll give you a very simple example. Over the last 20, 25 years, organizational thinkers and managers and pundits of business, if you might so use that word, were busy making, were busy defining and understanding words like vision and mission. I am giving an organization a vision statement and a mission statement. Is it good? Now, I was doing a small consultancy work for the Kerala State Road Transport Corporation, and I was in touch some time back with the Secretary for Transport and then the CMD, Chairman and Managing Director of Kerala State Road Transport Corporation. And in the report I made, I devised a vision and a mission statement for them. I don't know if they have applied it or they've gone through it in detail. One of the modern day techniques to see that at an organization is not a strategic failure. Today, the thinking is that I create a mission and vision statement and I create quality policies and I create that and this. Is it good to create a vision and mission statement? Yes, definitely, because the efficiency of that's called social engineering. Social engineering. I am trying to get people to perform with reduced level of stress because I am giving them a larger commitment. That is the indication of a constructive society which understands human beings as humans and creates a constructive environment from which they can perform much better. Now, the area of social engineering, something ran in mind with the forward survey. But still, this is the overall essence of what we call as or the word called vision and mission. One of the modern day methods or one of the modern day techniques of creating an organization which creates a work. It's not just work, kind of conducts its activities with a high degree of smoothness of flow because various individuals within the organization understand the mission and vision around which their organization revolves and works to strive and strives to achieve. Now, having said that, now is there any other way? There are many ways at which, but let us go to the functional level of an organization and what are the challenges at a functional level. Even if I go to a small hotel near my house, I see functional activities. Someone has to make food, someone has to give the food, someone has to pack the food, all functional activities. And I, as a customer, when I go to the hotel, I expect to be serviced very fast. I go to a hotel where I get fast service. I like that hotel because people within the hotel are working well if they service me well, working wrong if they don't service me right. Now, having said these things, let us quickly go through what these activities are very clearly all about. How to see that an organization works very well at a functional level. And it's a very nice matter to be discussed, or a nice issue, or a nice thing to be deliberated upon. At a functional level, an organization must have high degrees of delivery on four different fronts: quality, responsiveness, innovation, and three of the things: quality, innovation, responsiveness. There's one more word: efficiency. Four things. Please keep this in mind very clearly. I forgot the word efficiency as the first instance. It must give quality, it must be efficient, it must be high on efficiency, it must be innovative, and it must be responsive. Now, human beings also come with four of these qualities. You can see human beings who do very high quality work, human beings who believe in doing low quality work, human beings who are efficient, and human beings who are not efficient, human beings who are high on innovation, and human beings who are high on responsiveness. See, all these four words are connected, but they need some kind of explanation to see that we understand them in the right way. Start with the word called responsiveness. It's very difficult to look at these words, or understand these words in isolation because they all work in tandem. Now, before I go a step further, what is a business? A business is an institution where a small amount of people service a large amount magnitude of people. That could be the ultimate definition of business. A small tea shop near a house has just got two people running the tea shop, but on a given day, 500 people will visit the tea shop. I'll repeat the definition of business again. A small group of people providing a kind of service to a large multitude of people with the power and the capacity to make huge earnings, economic earnings. I'll give you a simple example. I'm going to a bus stand in, sorry, I've got uncertainty. I don't know where my bus is going to come. But I'm into some kind of a business institution, call it the bus company, or maybe by the government, where I want to travel from one place to another, which is a human need, it's a function. I go to the bus stand. I need someone in the bus stand to tell me very quickly the information that I want very badly. See, what I'm talking is $1 million lesson in the overall aspect of management. I go to a bus stand. Now, this is called as responsiveness. How quickly I get the information is called responsiveness. I go to an enquiry counter. I have to wait for 10 people to finish their job before I ask my question. There is a huge time lapse. Is the system responsive? System is weak on responsiveness. What do I need to do next? I need to innovate. What do you mean by that? I give a technical kiosk in the bus stand and I ask my query on the technical kiosk. I want to go from this place to that place. On which platform do I get this bus? The system should give me, it must be responsive. It tells me very quickly it is on platform number 12. For example, now there's an element of quality here. What do you mean by quality? Very important word. If it just tells me that it's on platform 12, the information given to me is not concrete. The quality of the information can be improved even further. Maybe the kiosk tells me next, from this place where you are standing, platform number 12 is exactly 5 platforms away, or it shows me a map, a very easily understandable one, which is printed in the right kind of font quality, which I can read instantly. And I go to the real problem. This is quality of information. I don't know how to define the word called efficiency. There's a very nice word here. These words come. Yeah. The efficiency would be something like this. When I go to the kiosk and enter my data into the kiosk, the system must be efficient. It must give me information in quite fast. See, that's quite different with the word called quality of information and efficiency. If the information comes to me very slowly, then the system per se is not efficient. If they put a cost tag on the information that it is giving, then again it is less efficient. Means I have to pay to get some information which is something that which goes without saying when I go to any given bus stand. Now here I'm seeing all the 4 words. I'm using the use of technology because when I make a kiosk, I need a large database which functions accurately, and I have to put many kiosks. If I put many kiosks, the system is even more efficient because uh, now these words are related to each other. Efficiency actually means some kind of economic efficiency. I'll give a very simple example. I cook rice in a kitchen. I can cook using a pressure cooker where I'm very efficient. I'm using less power. The same cooking activity, if it were to be done without a pressure cooker, then I take more time, I'm working with less efficiency, or I need more economic inputs to get the same kind of results. Efficiency could also mean I'm giving a kiosk, the most modern kiosk with the most efficient database at a low cost. The very erection of the device or installation of the device is not a very costly affair for the organization. It will also be termed as efficiency. Now, in a simple transaction like that, I understand. I understand these four words. I understand innovation. I understand responsiveness. I understand efficiency, and I understand quality. Quality is the concreteness of information. If I give you information which is inaccurate, that means the quality of information is bad. I might ask another question: when is the next bus to some destination? It must give me concrete, high quality information, which may or may not need further processing, and that information must be accurate. Very often, our business institutions falter on such counts for various reasons. Now, somewhere you understand what is a functional level activity, a simple kind of question. In any institution, it's one of our jobs to understand what are the various kinds of functional activity. Now, I need to constantly improve on quality. I need to constantly improve on innovation. I need to constantly improve on responsiveness. And I need to constantly improve on efficiency. That's one of four functional challenges, managerial challenges that many organizations face. Now, there are many ways. Next, I go to what is called as the business level. The business level. In the business level, generally there are three kinds of strategies I use in business. I use cost leadership, I use differentiation, or I use focus. People call these three things as business strategies. Now, what do we mean by this? I'm going next step to board a bus. I might be looking for a very economical bus, which does not charge me very high to reach one place or other place. Cost leadership. That's why I've got various classes of buses. I've got the ordinary bus, I've got a Volvo bus, I've got a Deluxe bus. And I have three, four different kinds of buses, that is differentiation. It also is a business strategy. Or I can use the strategy of focus. Focus would mean I just have one class of service on which the whole organization is focused. I may not be too much on differentiation. The idea behind all these three strategies is to see that economics of the organization improves, or the fund flow inside the organization improves. It's not just improves, it's much more than, or it's not just much more. The fund flow inside the institution is more than adequate. If I don't follow a proper business plan or strategy, I might land up in jeopardizing my economic returns, which will further prevent my ability to handle my functional level activities of any institution. Functional level activities of any organization are supported by business strategies per se. Now, every company has got various kinds of business strategies. Some private bus companies have the strategy of focus, focus, focus. What does that mean? Just have an early morning bus service from one place to another, which will take a traveler by mid-afternoon to another city, which is almost like flying. Only thing is that that person has to start early, and this bus company only focuses on that time slot. It's definitely a kind of focus strategy. because I've got a large group of people who can be enticed to travel at that time, and I just focus on that. And people are willing to pay slightly more than what they normally pay, and it puts me on a much economic standing because of the strategy I use. Now, is there in reality something called as a business level strategy? Business level strategies sometimes become more accurate when there are many competitors. You are forced to think on that kind of lines. Pricing is definitely a business level strategy. When there is competition is high, you might have to come down on price. I don't know if I'm perfectly correct, but it's not. Maybe I have to rationalize the price vis-a-vis competition. Now I don't know how to give a right kind of example. Near my house there is a hotel. One person sells tea at 10 rupees and another sells tea at 5 rupees. I obviously go to the hotel which gives me tea at 5 rupees. Though the quantities might be less. I'm not looking for the quantity what a 10 rupee hotel man is giving. I'm looking for a rationalized quality. Quantity. It's not the quality, the quantity. It's just half or relatively lesser, but the price is half. Now, whoever is running that hotel has invented a very nice strategy of a business level strategy of cost leadership. That's a business level strategy of cost leadership. I'm trying to reduce the price. Now, we have talked about the functional level strategies. We have talked about business level strategies. Business level strategies are cost leadership, differentiation, and focus. Cost leadership, I try to reduce the price. Focus, I just have, I'm focused on something. It might be product focus, it could be price focus, place focus. As I told you, I might have my, I'm a focus on something. I might focus only on certain markets. Every morning a hotel opens in a town. The owner of the hotel focuses on certain things. Few things for breakfast and then a mini meals and then something for the night. He is working on certain focus depending upon what market demands. If he does not focus on them, the economics of what he is running or the returns or the earnings of what he is doing would definitely be less. Now we are going to the higher level of what is called as strategic management. Generally, I don't know how to define what is this word called strategic management. If the business level of an organization is not working to the economic levels around which it should be working, strategic management definitely comes into the picture. It comes into the picture. Some of the words used in strategic management are restructuring, strategic alliances, strategic partnerships, takeovers, amalgamation, and such kind of words can definitely come under the overall gamut of strategic management. Now, two competing organizations coming together for some mutual economic benefits is definitely a strategic decision and an activity of strategic management. Again, that may not necessarily mean the entire activity called as strategic management, but could be one of the aspects of strategic management. I partner with someone so that my operational costs are much less. Though this may not exactly be the overall definition of strategic management. Strategic management really means in its Puritan form, totally something else. But since my competitors are also using the same kind of strategies, I'm forced to get into some kind of constructive alliances. If I retrench employees from an organization, it's definitely a strategic decision. It's a decision taken at some high level, at some level. If I plan to retrench so many amount of people for economic reasons, because they are overburdened for me in the climes or climate in which I'm working. Now, but still, we need to explain the word. Now, let us see some 3 4 ways in which strategic management works. Now, how does it work in the most simplest form? Let us think of certain things. How does the strategic management work? Basically, I am scanning the environment for some kind of strategic issues. Yes, yes, yes. Much ahead in time. When I scan, I don't know what the meaning, what am I scanning in the environment for? I'm scanning in the environment for some kind of threats, some kind of possible mishaps. I am scanning the environment for any other information inputs. I am scanning the environment for the emergence of substitute products. Substitute products sometimes create the biggest challenge to at a strategic level. Now, in every sector, we find some or the other form of substitute product. A railway train is a substitute product for a bus. If there are more railway trains from point A to point B, at a strategic level, I have to rethink how the business activity has to be reoriented. So, strategic management sometimes would mean, when I use the word global strategic management, I'm scanning the entire globe for possible threats, mishaps, confusions, uh, uncertainties, discontinuities, so that I come down from there. I understand very clearly what are these threats or these kind of warnings that come to me from the market around. Then I go down to the business level and try to reorganize my business level based on some of these strategies. Suppose I have from two cities, suddenly an air travel, which was not there before. It is a substitute product, and my high quality buses were I priced very high. Generally, the more luxurious buses that a bus company might have, they would definitely face a fall in customers. When I see such a situation around the corner, I need to go into focus. Focus means I may not I might get rid of those kind of larger buses and increase the number of other normal routine buses I have. I'm focused on them because I know that there is a substitute product which tends to threaten the existence of my luxury buses. At a functional level also, because to incorporate this kind of an environmental change, I have to make necessary changes even at the functional level. Now, if you ask me for all practical purposes, what is this activity of strategic management? It can be told in few lines. I'm studying the environment for threats and challenges. I'm understanding what they are much beforehand. I understand what is the processing needed for such kind of changes and challenges in the market around. Beforehand, I pass on this to the business level and I try to change my what I'm doing in the business level over the last season, and then I try to reorient my functional activities according to these inputs that I get at strategy at this level of strategic thinking or from the strategic level. So this kind of activity is the overall activity called